All right, well, welcome back into another edition of Inside the Booth, a summer series where we visit with college football coaches around the country, and we stay in the American Conference with a new head man down in Boca Raton. It's Zach Kittley. Coach, we appreciate the time, and we were joking right beforehand. Thank you for making the time in a college football calendar that doesn't offer a lot of reprieve from the day-to-day grind.
Yeah, no, like I said, appreciate you having me on, man. And yeah, man, it's the college football calendar's nuts. So we got it's about 4 more days here, and then we get a little time off. So that'll be good.
Well, man, let's kind of dive into this. And I want to go back to when you accepted this job. And, when I was going through some of the questions and things I wanted to ask you, obviously your name has been synonymous with, I guess the best way to put it is as a lot of head coaching gigs. Every single cycle, we've seen the name Zach Kittley attached loosely everywhere else. What about FAU made the place where you said, "Hey, this is where I want to move my family," and what about the administration said, "Hey, this is where I want to sign up and where I want to take a head coaching job"?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the administration. You hit on that, and to me, whenever you're looking at these opportunities to, have the opportunity to be a head football coach, and especially at my age, at being 33 years old, you want to make sure you're going to the right situation. And so,
Mm.
we have great administration here, and that's what I told everybody early on. We have alignment here from the top down that cares about football, that wants to win here, that understands that, if you have a great football program, it can be a catalyst for your university, not just for athletics. It can be something huge just for the school. I mean, you saw it here a couple of years back in the men's basketball program here at FAU. Those guys made the Final Four run, and look what it did for the OWL logo and the university itself. So we have great alignment. We just hired a new president a couple months ago, and Adam Hasner, and he's been unbelievable. Again, understands that athletics and football in general is huge for the school, and our athletic director Brian White. I mean, he's had a ton of success winning in all kinds of facets, and those guys want to win, and they have my back, and they're going to give me the resources that I need to be successful here. And so when you look at a place that has that was number one. And then you look at everything else, there has been football success here. It wasn't but 6 years ago they were winning, the Conference USA here, and unbelievable place to live. Boca Raton, we're sitting right here on the beach, so it's a beautiful place. And then lastly, we've got a great footprint here to recruit in South Florida. There's great athletes down here, and so we want to try to keep as many of these hometown guys home, and continue to try to build our football program that way.
Yeah, Coach, kind of, I guess, a more lighthearted question. It's probably when you bring these kids in, you're right in the midst of it, OV season. They get to see the beach and they get to kind of stay close to home. I mean, I imagine that played a part when you were looking at different opportunities you might have had. And you said, "Hey, it's a talent-rich state, but also, like you said, not a bad location to spend 2, 3, 4 years."
No, you're spot on. I actually was fortunate enough to come down here to Boca in 2021 for the Boca Bowl when I was at Western Kentucky, and I spent 5 days here. Just kind of being a part of the bowl process, and I loved it myself. Thought it was a beautiful place, and it's kind of funny how these things work out. This is one of those ones that whenever it popped open there in November, you're kind of sitting there and be like, man, that'd be a great job to get, but there's probably no way I'm getting that one. And a couple of weeks later, I have a phone interview with Brian White, and the next thing, here we go, we take off. So this was a no-brainer one for me, just because, again, I know that they care about football here. They want to win here. They have won here, and we have the resources that we're going to need to create a great football program.
Talk about creating that great football program, and we've talked with several coaches in this conference, and they have all hit on just the opportunity that lies in this conference of when you're recruiting, you can say, do you realistically have a chance to win the title? And if you do that, you've got a pretty good chance of going to the playoff. So far, and I know it's a limited sample size for you, what have those conversations been like when you're recruiting against some of the big dogs in this state and just across the Southeast as a whole?
Yeah, I think the world of college football is in such a different place now than it was just a handful of years ago. I mean, you're working through the NIL space and now the revenue sharing space, and clearly with the transfer portal window, it's the recruiting conversations are a lot different now than they used to be. So again, I'm upfront and honest in the recruiting process, and that's kind of what I hang my hat on, is just the family atmosphere, the genuineness that we're going to give. But also, in today's day and age, the opportunity to come in right away and make an immediate impact,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when you're fighting with some of the big dogs, like you mentioned. I mean, a lot of those big dogs, some of these guys are recruiting. Are you going to go in there? Are you going to be a guy that can make an immediate impact right away? Or, are they a guy that they see you playing 2 to 3 years down the road? I think that's something that plays into our hand here of being able to recruit some of these top tier high school kids, and especially the local ones, and giving them an opportunity to stay at home, play in front of their family, and the biggest word I just said, there's play. Get the opportunity to be on the field as a freshman, and I think that's something that we have to offer here at FAU.
Talk about navigating this landscape of college football, and everyone's got an opinion on it, so I'm interested to hear yours. With the college football playoff continuing to shift and change, and this is another question we've asked as coaches in your conference, what's your take on it, and how do you communicate that to your staff, to your roster, and to recruits about why this is a place where, hey, we can get into a playoff? And what would you like to see in terms of representation for the Group of Five?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of different on it. I don't love the automatic bids for a couple conferences here and there. I think that there should be, your conference champions get in probably, and I think the Group of Five needs to be represented absolutely. But ultimately, I think you need to look at it from that point of view, and then let the next best, whatever that is, 9, 11, however many teams they end up wanting to do. If they do 16 teams, right, let's bring 11 more of the best teams in, which I do think is the best way to probably do it, but I think that, the Group of Five at the minimum needs one for sure. I think when you look back at it and you have teams like Boise State, and you see what those guys did last year, and there's plenty of great football here at the Group of Five level. And so I think we just need opportunities for those. And, the more opportunities we can get to have people in that playoff at our level, I think is the best thing. But as far as just letting the big dogs have all the automatic bids, I'm not too big into that idea.
I like it, Coach, and no worries. We're not going to make you put on the college football commissioner cap and make those decisions. That's way above our pay grades and something we want to delegate to somebody else. Obviously, we mentioned earlier what's kind of synonymous with your name, and people can take one look at it, and they can look at offense. And, when you first kind of popped up on our radar, was a guy that I was around in Austin Reed at Western Kentucky, and a guy that you obviously were really familiar with. We knew him when he was down in Pensacola at West Florida, and watching him as a young player, and just the transformation that you've had in every stop that you've made. So kind of talk to me for Florida Atlantic fans and for fans that might tune into a game. Maybe they have never really heard of the Owls and they want to watch a game. What's your philosophy, and what are you excited about in terms of the personnel grouping and what you want to do down there in Boca Raton?
Yeah, I mean, philosophy-wise, we're going to play harder than you. We're going to play faster than you, and we're going to create excitement. I mean, this is going to be a fun football team to watch. I tell our fans and our donors and all that, they're gonna love the brand of football that we play. I can't promise X amount of wins or anything like that, but I can promise you that we're going to play hard. We're going to play fast. And we're going to be exciting. We're going to take risks. We're going to be extremely aggressive on all 3 phases of the game. We're not going to sit back and play chains defense and run the ball and try to play possession offense and all that. I mean, we're going to be aggressive. You're going to see trick plays. You're going to see us going for it on 4th down. You're going to see, special teams fakes and all those type of things. And then on defense, we're going to fly around. We're going to try to create chaos and hit the quarterback and create turnovers. So it's going to be an exciting football team to watch. And again, I think that's something that the fans around here are starving for. And I think it's going to get the local fan base extremely excited.
And mentioned, obviously, with recruiting, with the talent pool that you can pull from, you got some guys down there in that state that could help do that in a hurry. Just in terms of your philosophy, in terms of your scheme, who are some people that you draw upon, and who are some guys that kind of maybe molded your mindset as an offensive-minded head coach?
Yeah, I mean, it all takes me back to 2013 when Cliff Kingsbury hired me to be one of his assistants there at Texas Tech, and those 5 years. Being able to be right next to him in all the meetings and really just sit back and take it all in and learn and really try to understand how his mind worked and how he saw the game. Because, in my opinion, he's the best OC out there, the best offensive mind out there, the best quarterback developer out there, and I was fortunate enough to sit with him for 5 years and really just sit back and learn. I didn't try to say a whole lot in those meetings, but tried to learn from him. And so he's definitely where the roots and my core of what I do and what I believe in come from him. But we talked about Western Kentucky a little bit too. When I got there, I brought my style and my aggression to that Western Kentucky football program, but I also learned a lot from Tyson Helton, and how can we morph this thing into being a pro style run game, pro style in the pass protection a little bit more, and then, hey, you go do your pass plays, you know what I mean? And so we're able to really sit there and morph those two together, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing now. Whenever I was at Houston Baptist, you would have never seen me in 12 personnel, very rarely even in 11 personnel. And now, and you go back and watch me at Texas Tech the last 3 years, I think you've seen I've been extremely more multiple. I'm doing a lot more things with different puzzle pieces and moving stuff around. And so I think those are the two things that the two people that really helped mold me. And clearly you're watching certain people as well, and trying to take some stuff from everybody. I've got some great friends in this business that kind of come from a similar background as me, and so we always bounce ideas off each other. And I'm watching those guys on Sundays and Mondays too, to see what they had just done in their games the weekend before. And so but definitely the roots of this thing come from that Cliff Kingsbury air raid style offense.
And I know for fans, just like we talked about earlier, that maybe not familiar with what you're trying to do down there, they can go watch some of that and obviously be really, really excited as well. Coach, I know you've been probably and most likely drinking through the fire hose here through the first couple of months in your tenure down there. But just what are some of the early things that maybe you have even learned about yourself? And what do you think you'll learn about yourself in this head coaching role, maybe in just year one? I mean, we still got a little while to get there, but it's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you don't really, when you first get hired, like, you're prepared and you got a lot of work to do, but you don't really understand how much that work's going to be those first 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And you take that job in December. I got hired on a Monday, and we had the high school signing day was that Wednesday. So you're talking less than 48 hours later, we had a high school signings happening. You have your current roster. You're trying to keep guys out of the portal. You've got guys going in the portal. You're trying to recruit the portal. And you're just talking just the month of December, and then you get into January, and now it's full on recruit mode, because that's the only month that the NCAA allows head coaches to really go out on the road fully. We go out in the fall and catch a game or two. So you're just completely slammed, completely busy that whole month of December and whole January. And during that whole process too, you're trying to formulate a staff of great men and women that can carry your voice, whenever you may not be around the building, and that starts with your strength coach. And I got a great one here in Brandon Lee, and building it from that. So I think that'd be the two biggest things is you learn how to work at a different rate. And I'm not a procrastinator. I like to get in, get it done, and go enjoy my time. But whenever you're in you're in these shoes for the first time, you learn a lot about yourself as far as what you thought you may know and what you didn't know, and just trying to formulate it all and put it all together. But man, it's been a blast. Just being able to manage. I'm used to managing an offensive staff and half a football team, and now I'm managing the entire staff, and the whole football team. And the way I look at it too, I'm also managing my staff and their families, because our success is going to tell the success of their families too, to a certain extent. And so, I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself just to make sure that I'm taking care of people the right way. And, that's been probably my favorite part about having this job is, being able to do certain things the way I want it done, and be able to take care of people when it comes to office hours and some stuff like that. And so, you find out, 7 months here on the job, you're learning as you go, but it's been a hell of a ride so far, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Well, you hinted at this, and we'll ask you this before we get you out of here with the last question. Taking care of your staff and making sure those office hours are nuts. And then even the beginning of that answer, you mentioned the timeline in which you took the job. So I've got to ask you, might have to put that commissioner cap back on here. This college football calendar. Now, we've talked with multiple coaches, players, recruiting staffers. They have talked about right now it's unsustainable. And you're seeing some really good people get out of the business for personal reasons and things like that. How have you managed that? What's your plan in managing that in terms of making sure, these coaches can be with their families and be there for important while also needing to win? How do you manage that? And maybe what would you tweak about this calendar?
Yeah, I think we definitely need to have some change to the calendar. I think the biggest thing that's going to set this calendar up for possible some more success for coaches when it comes to time off or complete failure is what we're going to end up trying to do it this transfer portal window. Can we get it to 1? I think that'd be a slam dunk for all of college football. And then the question comes is, when is that? When are they going to do that transfer portal window? Because what does that look like as well? I will say over the last couple of years, I feel like they've done a few things that help some of the calendar a little bit. We used to have the quiet period there the last weekend of July, and they got rid of that. That's a dead period now. I thought that was a slam dunk for all coaches. The month of December now, it used to be a contact period, and they took that away too, or it was just the quiet period where you can have people on your campus, which I think was good too. Gives you a little bit of time back with your family, but not just them too. You with your players, while you're in that bowl prep, getting ready for your bowl game too. You're at home. You're not on the road bouncing back and forth. But ultimately, the kicker to that question is, what are they going to do with the transfer portal window? I think if we can get the transfer portal window figured out and hammered down, I think that's going to solve a lot of issues. But for me personally, I do think us as coaches, a lot of the times we overthink a lot of things, and we overthink the game of football. And to me, I tried to hire people that are like-minded as me, that can, get in the building, get their work done, and then get out and go see your families, because again, when I talk about a family environment here, I'm talking about the spouses and the kids and everybody else involved. And I'm a big believer in that. And, if you ever come by and you see an OWL football practice here, you're going to see families everywhere, because I'm a huge believer in it. And, I think it starts with me. If I'm true and I'm genuine about it, like, hey, let's get out of the office, let's go do this, or hey, let's go have some staff camaraderie over here this afternoon, let's go do that. I think that shows that my guys are, understand that, hey, like, I do care about your personal life as well outside of this building. And I think that's how you build, a great staff continuity, and, I'm not naive either, at this level here that we're at. If we're having the success that we want to have, I'm going to lose coaches, to probably some different opportunities, but, all I can do from my end is make this place the most fun they've ever had, working. And that's kind of what my job is every morning I get up. I come in here and I want my players and my staff to, the best part of their days when they get to come see me, and because they know they're in a fun environment, and an environment where they're going to get to be themselves and have fun doing it. And so we work a lot of hours here in college football. So you got to love this thing, and you got to love the people you're doing it with.
Zach Kittley, head coach of Florida Atlantic, man, we appreciate the time, and we didn't get to talk a lot about it, but I know you're excited for this 2025 season. We're ready to see you guys take the field, and no fans are as well. So, man, we appreciate the time. Best of luck to you, and, congratulations on everything so far, and we're excited to see what you guys do.
Absolutely, man. Again, thanks for having me on, man, and go Owls.